Okay, something very exciting just happened. A new camera has arrived. Okay, I have Patrick today, so this could be an interesting experience. Patrick, say hi. Okay, so instead of the office, we're gonna try to do this in here with him. Open this thing up, see what we got. Okay, here we go. What's in the box? Patrick, what do you think it is? Z. I'm excited. Things, adapter. This will come in very handy in a little bit. Brand new XQD card. Super duper cheap. Yeah. Ooh. Hey buddy, you wanna check out the box? Oh, you like the Nikon mirrorless stuff? Yeah. Okay, Patrick's pretty psyched, but we have the Z6 now. We're gonna test it out all week. If we like it, we're gonna keep it. If it seems to be a huge waste of money, we're just gonna send it back. But we're gonna have a whole week of video work with the Z6. We're gonna test it out. But for right now, oh God, what's the child doing? Busted. Ooh, XQD card. How are you, bud? Oh, yeah. All right. How are you doing that, baby? Okay. Then we got the magic right here. I've never touched one of these, so I am pretty excited about the experience. You could be the first to touch it if you want. Ooh. The future is mirrorless, and the future is also Patrick. So maybe you're into it. Do you like it? You like the receipt more? Okay. Ooh, that feels nice. So I've been shooting with Sony video cameras for a while now. I'm gonna be honest, they feel like toys. This feels like a Nikon camera, which is very nice. Hand feel is so important, and I'm loving this oversized grip right here. This is outrageous. Really like that. But seriously, this is the first time I've ever touched one of these. I've only looked at a few reviews online. This is really nice in the hand. Good switch. Good buttons. You know? Ooh, ISO is even up here. Very nice. I don't know, man. Big screen. Nice viewfinder. We're gonna have to start slapping some glass on this thing. Give it a go. Okay, I'm super excited. I'm here at CrossFit Strong Island. Finally have a chance to unleash the Nikon Z6 and see if it's all that it's cracked up to be. Pretty psyched. We're gonna be doing a little competition thing. And I have the D5, but I'm gonna try to shoot all day with the Z6 and see how that goes. Cool. Okay, we got it. Z6 up and running. We're shooting. We're gonna shoot all day with this. And as long as work goes okay, I'll keep shooting with this instead of the D6. And then I'll just take some D6 pictures just to be able to compare back and forth. Here we go. Should be interesting. I've already realized a couple things, like I forgot to set the date in it, and a couple little odd options, but now it's working great. Okay. This is the first time this has ever happened in Nikon history. My battery's about to die, so I gotta go switch batteries. Okay, problem number 2. I can't use the old batteries. I thought I could. So, major demerit. Okay. Initial thoughts. Shooting with an EVF is super duper weird, but very interesting as well. Also this whole like seeing through the EVF that you can actually tell what the exposure is going to be without then having to look at the screen. Also very weird to get used to. The other thing is the camera is so much quieter. I can't hear when it's actually in focus or not. And so I'm kind of using the force to figure that out. Whereas normally I would be able to feel it out a little bit better. Yeah, what else? The battery is running through 1 million times faster, which is also very weird, but that kind of makes sense because the screen is on so much more. I'm also finding that I'm shooting with live view on a lot more. And the other thing is I'm playing around with the auto AF a lot, and it's actually working. So we're ingesting, and we'll take a look at some pictures and see what's working. All right, we have battery back in, gave it about 40 minutes of a charge, and it looks like we have 5 bars now. So good to know the Z6 battery is actually different than the, okay, I gotta take a little picture. We did it. The Z6 battery is different than the D750 battery, or for whatever reason, the one specific one I had with me is different. So we gotta figure out that situation. Looks like we're about to start, but now's the real fun. It's starting to get dark in here, so we're looking at like ISO 6400, ISO 8000, and we're gonna go for it. Cool. There it is. All right, Z6 first impressions. Very cool, a lot of fun to shoot with, but comparing it to a D5 is weird. The D5 feels so mechanical and accurate when you're shooting with it, whereas the Z6 feels like you're like taking a computer out. Getting used to the EVF for me is very, very disorienting, because there's like that ever hesitant bit of lag, and what you also see on the EVF is not exactly 100% accurate, and I'm having trouble telling when I'm actually in focus and when I'm not in focus, whereas with like a D5, I immediately know when I'm in focus. But when I look through the pictures, everything's in focus. It looks great. What's also interesting is because the focus points go all the way to the edge, I can grab a focus point up in like a top corner and then compose there, and that works out pretty well. And then there's just like a couple oddities, like the battery burns through way faster, so that's a pain in the ass. And then like figuring out the right balance of the EVF being on versus the EVF being off, and it jumping back and forth between the monitor and the EVF. That can be a little annoying, but all that can be changed in the settings, so I'm getting used to that. Beyond that, like if it was the only camera I had, it's amazing and it's great and it's fantastic. And for like $1,700 or whatever ridiculously low cost it is, it's incredible. Comparing it to a D5, still tough, but the comparisons are not on like ISO or anything like that, or that like the focus is slow. The comparisons are really still on just getting used to a mirrorless system versus DSLR. But it was incredible, fantastic, and we'll jump to the office and show a bunch of, you know, pictures and edits and stuff like that. Okay, we're back in the office doing our Z6 wrap up here. Let's get into first, why did I buy this camera? Well, I had all this stuff. Let's just go. Why did I buy this camera, right? Couple different reasons. Well, that's not true. Why did I buy this camera? The main reason. So, shooting a couple weeks ago, Mid-Atlantic CrossFit Championship, whatever they're calling it now, CrossFit Challenge. And I had a second shooter doing some video with me, Mike Koslap, picture of Mike. And he was delivering some fantastically juicy 70-200 video for me. So he was using the Canon version of this 70-200 and was delivering some awesome slow-mo video. I'll cut to that dramatic cinematic video right here. And so what basically that did is seal the deal that for my video work, I knew I needed a 70-200 for video. What I did not want to spend was $3,000 on a Sony video lens. A Sony 70-200 that I could only just use on my Sony video camera, which is on right now. So I started thinking about it a little bit. I'm like, well, maybe I could adapt my gorgeous Nikon 70-200 to the Sony. Not gonna work, autofocus doesn't carry through, be more of a pain than anything else. So I thought a little more, and then for some reason, this Nikon Z6 popped into the game. And then I also found out that there had been some serious price drops on it already. When I started looking around and seeing that it was getting some very respectable reviews on video, and then it could shoot my 1080 at 120 frames a second, which is really what I wanted to add that kind of cinematic-y video look, realized it will carry through autofocus into all of the Nikon lenses using this fancy pants adapter thing. So once the price dropped a little more, they threw in some XQD cards and all of the adapter and all that.
it wound up being over like $1,200 cheaper to just buy this camera for the purpose of adapting this Nikon lens than buying a whole extra lens system. So that was the entire reason I bought it. But then, the second I got it, I started really playing around with this because I, full disclosure, have only ever taken pictures with a mirrorless camera with this camera, the A6500, and honestly thought it was basically terrible. Like, the experience to me is horrible, using an EVF was horrible. Whether it was the lenses or whatever, just really had no interest in doing it. Nikon camera's great, don't need to fix what's not broken. But I had no video to really shoot once this showed up, and then realized I could adapt all my Nikon glass. So I have this Nikon Tamron 24-70, Sigma art lens, all that good stuff. So I started playing around with it, and boy, is it a wild camera. It is much, much better than I expected because I really didn't need a new camera. But now I'm already finding it replacing my D750, and we're gonna go back and forth right now between the Z6 and the Nikon D5 and look at some pictures from a competition I just shot and see if we really see any reasonable differences. Like, okay, let's get into it over here. So I actually shot 2,000 pictures on the Z6 and 1,400 on the D5. I also almost only used the 24-70 from Tamron and would just switch it back and forth. My first and really only hiccup I had with the Z6 was I thought it used all my old batteries, but it only used the Nikon made batteries, not the 8 third-party batteries I bought. So that was a little annoying, but so at a certain point I had to just cut out and charge my battery, which is super embarrassing. But still, whatever. I still had a Nikon D5 as a backup. So looking at Z6 versus D5 now, let's jump into the pictures, see what we got going on. So let's take a look here, see if there's any really good pictures, kind of highlight the differences. So this is also interesting. Just randomly, when I made my selects, I selected 226 D5 photos and 216 Z6 photos. So without actually looking at metadata, I selected basically the same number of pictures off each camera, just randomly. So that's interesting. But let's just jump in here and see if we have any good examples that might show some of the differences between these cameras. And go from there. Let me pull this over here so I can actually see what camera was shot on a little faster. All right, so all this stuff here is like, let's see a good shot here. So like this is D5. I'm shooting, it's nighttime, there's really bad lighting here. I'm at ISO 8000 and this is a dark part of the gym. And it's a D5. It does a fantastic job. Looks great, looks great, looks great. Let's watch what happens when we jump back into the Z6. Okay, so this is all D5, whatever, and it's a D5. It does great. Cool, crushing it, doing a great job, Okay, now we're back to Z6 here. So same settings, just about, like I'm at 1/500th here. I was kind of floating around between 1/500th and everything else. But again, this is D5. And then here is Z6 stuff. And usability, like, it's the exact same thing. Like, there's really no differences here between that Z6 and the D5 in the pictures. Like, if there is, I really don't see them. Like, we could even, like, let's do it this way. Let me just grab a shot from one of these bikes and then a shot from a bike on the other heat. All right, so I'll grab this. All right, cool. So I got all those. So I look around and like, in terms of like focus coming in and out, it's the exact same from the D5 to the Z6 files. Like most of these are D5. This is a Z6, this is Z6. You know, we're tack sharp, color-wise, focus-wise, we're looking good. Let's see, let it load up. You know, tack sharp, look at the hairs. Again, like pixel peeping, you don't jump into a corner. This noise looks exactly the same as the noise I'm gonna find on the D5. Let's let the D5 file load up a little bit. If anything, the noise actually seems a hair worse in this part of the D5 file. Let's see if there's anything else that's really jumping out here between the files. You're gonna see that some of these Z6 files are darker, and they're darker because, and this is gonna be my main, if I had a gripe with this camera, what it would be, and this is 100% more user error than anything else. The EVF is very disorienting for me to get used to. So the EVF, in my understanding, is basically showing me a what you see, what you get version of the image before you even take it. And there's like a slight little lag, but that's not the issue. The issue is that the Nikon viewfinder is showing me a more exposed version of the image that I'm actually getting. And let's stop right there. There is a setting for viewfinder brightness, and that is not actually changing what I'm seeing. That's just making it duller. But so what I'm seeing through the EVF is a brighter version of the image than the picture will actually be. But when I look at the meter is showing me that I'm underexposed if I take the picture there, whereas if I now bump up the exposure to what it actually should be, it comes out properly exposed. This was the first shoot I really was hammering thousands of shots through the camera, and sometimes would kind of forget that or not really know what to trust. So a lot of my Z6 files are a little darker simply because I was exposing them a little too dark. So like a picture like this, the camera was telling me it was perfect, but it was a little too dark. Like it was like a third of a stop under. So the longer answer would be I would love for them to update that to give me a more accurate representation, or someone just to tell me how to edit it properly or adjust the camera properly. The other side of it is I would just know in the short run that everything just needs to be a little brighter than what I see in the EVF. That's just hard to remember, especially when you're shooting. And that's just kind of the getting used to the EVF. All right, let's see if there's anything else here worth looking at. In the action, the focus thing is obviously like the biggest conversation I've seen online. I was actually gonna stop here because this picture was a little out to try to jump on the Z6, but it's a D5 picture. But so my point being that like really you go through this stuff, it's the user error that leads to the focus more than anything else. Like anyone beating up its autofocus system, I think is just not an actual sports photographer. When you use this camera with back button focus and like a continuous, like let me see what setting I actually have this in right now. I'm in my focus mode is autofocus continuous, and my focus area mode is dynamic area AF. You now have edge-to-edge focusing abilities where you can grab a focus point anywhere on the screen, hold down that thumb, and you're gonna grab focus. The only challenge in that is you don't get as much physical feedback from the camera of when you're getting that tack sharp focus, and especially because of the EVF screen, it's not, or at least my eye is not quite as used to feeling that focus lock on. And you almost had to trust the force that it was working. So like these shots here, I probably didn't feel like I was necessarily, like when I'm really up in there, like really that tack sharp. Like especially I remember on this skiing sequence, back over here, you guys lifting weights. Like especially over here when we were in the skiing part, I really kind of wasn't sure at all if these were in focus. And then when I looked at it on the computer, they were, right? So like that's just me getting used to it, or like understanding how the focus system works better. But my hit rate was exactly the same between the D5 shooting with back button and the Z6 shooting with back button. If anything, I had more ability to select focus points, which was interesting because the focus points go all the way edge to edge. So that's really, really neat. All right, let's, I don't know, kind of wrap up there. Comparing the Z6 to the D5, there's not major differences here. They both really perform really well. Like I love the feel of the Z6 to just feel more metal and harder and heavier like the D5, but that's the difference between a $7,000 camera and a $1,700 camera. And they don't want this to be gigantic, even though I'd still prefer it to be beefier when I'm holding it. So because I'm just gonna smash it against stuff and I don't want it to break. In performance, this adapter is super annoying because it's gigantic and I wish it was a little smaller. But maybe I'll just eventually buy some native lenses and that won't be a thing. Beyond that, I have no reason not to just throw this in my bag and use this instead of a D750, or always use this as my backup camera, and which I really wasn't expecting at all. Like, this was gonna be a purpose-built video camera, and I've only lightly used the video functions on it yet, so that's super cool. We'll do a whole nother video down the road when I have more video examples to work with. What I've done thus far has been awesome and worked great, and I'm just getting used to the color and the look of the Z6 file compared to the Sony stuff. And yeah, it's going great. Cool. Yeah, Z6. Check it out. It's really good. Cool.